You are now tuned in to the WRBZR and the CNC podcast. Thank you for supporting. Thank you for tuning in. Enjoy.
Let me show them, see what you're doing.
Welcome to Verizon Wireless. Your mobile number is either not
She always
active or
fucking
is
fucking these
invalid.
calls and
For
shit. She
assistance,
only
please.
want a nigga, right? She only want a real nigga. Fuck the truth, I need proof, let me see some. I ain't gotta lie to you. But baby, you're one of a kind. You're my favorite work of art, girl. A masterpiece is what you are. You're my favorite work of art, girl. A masterpiece is what you are. Girl, I'm your biggest fan. Just know that. Picture perfect memories, no time for a Kodak. The way you hold yourself together, I could tell you own that. You do. Thick in the right spots, I'm sure you could throw that. There you go again, taking advice from your girlfriends. But those the same girlfriends that'll fuck your boyfriend. Raised by a woman, learned from a woman, and I only feel this right. I give respect to the women. I need that low-key freak that's down for whatever. Baby, I'm no player, I'm coaching the game, and it's all about approach. And the thing that you say, I'm just trying to vibe. Let go and live life. I got blunts full of strong. In the clouds I go swimming. I'm not like that average dude that mess with different women. I'm trying to give you a vibe to let you know I'm different. That I'm better than you attitude. Gotta kick it. You living in your feelings. I'm living in the moment. Slow down for what? Shorty, I gotta stay focused. To the top is where I'm bound to be. It's not likely that you hear a nigga nice as me. 1,000 miles running, tricking with these hoes, never. Hate is bad for your blood, stick to getting cheddar. That's the plan forever, 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 forever. Fuck the truth, I need proof, let me see some. I ain't gotta lie to you. But baby, you're one of a kind. You're my favorite work of art, girl.
Yep. You already know what it is. It's your boy. Why not Derek, aka Derek Lawson, and this is the CNC podcast. And you already know what time it is. You already know what we do here. And this is episode 8, part 2 of The Ships. I had a lot more to say, so I was just going back to it to make sure, because there were a lot of things that I couldn't get out, and there were a lot of things that I did get out. But the main thing that I really wanted to get out is that giving you personal, opinions doesn't mean that what I'm saying isn't applicable to somebody or anybody out there, for that sake. But what it is an understanding thing. The times where we don't understand, sometimes we may need somewhere to go to try to understand. And let's just say it like this, okay? As being a creator, I've been through things, you know what I mean? I've been through relationships that didn't work, that changed me. I've been through relationships that brought me back to myself. And then in between the times of not being in a relationship and just wanting to solely work on me, that's when I find myself running back into myself, trying to do anything and everything to find myself. But in these last maybe 10 to 11 years, I learned that you never really lose yourself. The only thing is you just give and you just give and you just give until you start getting things in return, but not everybody has the ability to do that. And once you start wrapping your heads around things that are just hard to digest, you start realizing, like, all right, it makes sense now. And you'll stop questioning yourself and your intuition so many times, because people can give you this image, or they can just give you this energy or aura about them, and the whole get up from the physical to the spiritual, which is like the energy, that it's a wanting, it's alluring. You want that. You want to be possibly want to be in that field of energy. You want to be around that. And I do believe, I do believe it's possible for people to just meet in the out of random situations, maybe at the grocery store, and maybe be able to live a life. But my take on marriage and my take on just understanding, I have never been married, so I wouldn't know what that's like. But for me, it's like what I was talking about before on the other episode. The American dream. It's like, if that's what we work for and that's what we live for, just think about the programming in it, because that's all you're born. You're literally born to be the best you, and they and everyone implants this formula, and everyone runs with it. And I'm not saying it's bad, but there's got to be a point in time where you have to look at it and be like, I don't want to do these things that they're implementing the American dream to be. You know what I mean? Does that make me less American? I could care less about that part, but the part is that I'm human. I have the choice to do that, and that's another big thing. If you make something wrong in your life, go make it right in your life. All because it starts off with one thing, which is what? A choice. And you made the choice. So you can make another choice to make it right. It's the chances, changes, and choices. It's that those are my 3 C's. And I say that because everything starts with a chance. And then you have a choice, and then you have the opportunity to change it. Not change the choice, but change the outcome. Change the situation. Change the circumstance. I've been in enough relationships, but maybe not longer than somebody who's 50 years old, 60 years old. There's people who are 40 and 50 that are virgins. You know what I mean? So the opinion coming from me or coming from somebody who's married, I could understand the reasoning to want to be, going to them, because it's not about that. It's not about competing. It's really about a level from somebody who's not married. You know what I mean? So maybe the person who is younger that might not want to listen to this person who's 55, and they might want to listen to a person who's in their 30s that has never been married, but just hears the outlook of it and be like, oh, I never looked at it like that. You know what I mean? Because everything that you accept in life is things that you can change because you had a choice and you had a chance. If you can't change any of that, then there'll have to be another opportunity of some way that you will. I used to think, I could, if I dealt with a female, I used to think like, damn, I could, go back anytime. Just we could reconnect anytime, and after a while, you start realizing like, no, you can't. And that form of rejection or that form of lost connection that runs your ego, because women have egos too. But their ego is more attached emotionally, and our ego is more attached pridefully, which is kind of the same, but not the same. Because I'm not saying that women don't have pride. I'm just saying that for a man, it's the same reason why he won't cry in front of somebody, because of his pride. You know what I mean? And it's the same reason why a woman will cry in front of her girlfriends and just cry out in these spaces when things are affecting her in circumstance. These are things that biologically, that's just what it is. You know what I mean? And there's nothing wrong with showing emotion, but it's the same time, people who are really hard on themselves realize once they get around somebody who can make them less hard on themselves, because they're able to help them not suppress anything, make them actually go through stuff. And it's not due to what that person is bringing you through, it's due what that person's helping you go through. Because whatever trauma that you're going through, if you're paying a shrink to, listen, or or a therapist to listen to the things that you're going through in life to try to help you, you have to pay for that. There's some people in your life that you hold dear to you that you probably would trust with a lot more information than a therapist. And I know that's wrong to put that in their life, but that's I don't know what the limit is with friendship, you know what I mean? Especially with somebody you've been down with for so long. Are you able to tell them your problems and now their problems become your problems? In hindsight, they really just don't. Really just become something that you have to hold and confide in to be able to know what's going on with that person's life deeper than what they tell you and deeper than what you see. Yes. Yes. That's why I don't have many friends, because of that same reason. Because then I would have to take on all these problems, but I can't take on one or two people's problems, even if I have problems. Because I didn't want to be an influencer, and it's like, you realize what you're doing, impact people, post, interaction, audience. Like, I never thought I'd be sitting here thinking about all these things. Then I'm like, damn, I've been through so many things, so let me just start giving it out there. Not because it's going to make me capital, but because it could change somebody else's life. What I'm saying could be like, maybe that person's not ready to do something and everyone's forcing them into, and they just happen to hear a glimpse of this one day and they're just like, damn, if this would have been, in my life at that point and I would have heard that could have made a difference in my choices, and I could have had a chance to change. And there's the 3 C's again, like, it's right in front of you. A lot of the times we get in our own way. I used to think, damn, I might have commitment issues, maybe, possibly I couldn't commit, and then I did. And then I realized that that's not the issue. The issue is that people change. People change. People get complacent and they change, and the whole time they don't realize who they are. And that's the part of being by yourself for a while, is that you're able to hone in on who you need to be, who you want to be, and how you're going to present that to people who don't know you. Period. Impressing people is cool, but guess what? That's just to get access. What are you going to do with the access? And what are you going to do to keep the access? Because the access can be taken away. And that's the problem. People do things to get the access taken away, but without stepping outside of the relationship, they still have to stay in the relationship. And that makes it tougher, because like, you have choices to make. And then if you can't make those choices, you want to take chances, but those chances will change everything. And I only started realizing this more when I, previous to the last relationship I was in, and I took so much time off of being indulged in to try to loving somebody, and they can't accept the love. And then you just look at their, and like, so much time is wasted, you think, but it's valuable things that you learn. It's part of even developing just because I physically can't grow anymore, it doesn't mean like my soul, doesn't mean my mind. These things still, they still can develop further than what I'm even capable of, because I haven't went through all the situations I might need to go through in life, or I might not need to hear all the information I need to hear to be able to navigate through life a certain way. And as bad as it sounds, those things make us better. Those bad moments make us better. Those tough times make us better. And some people can really bully through those hard times and become, better on the outside of all the chaos, the orchestrated chaos. And I believe in it. I believe in it. I do. I was firsthand a person who was really down before, because of that. Because I let somebody into my life, and then they did so much damage that I didn't want to ever let anybody in, but I just needed to come to terms with. You will change. You will always be you, but you will just pay attention now. You'll be more aware. You'll understand when things aren't to be understood, because that was the problem. I was just trying to understand everything. Now it's just like, listen, if I can't understand that, because it's not meant to be understood, and if I can't understand it and accept that fact, then I need to pull myself away from that situation until understanding is met, because that was the problem. I couldn't let go of it, and letting go was just creating more and more and more chaos to it. And the chaos couldn't stop. When the chaos couldn't stop, it just left you there, and you feel dead, you feel broken, you feel there's no hope. And that was because I told myself, this is all I give. I physically felt like that was all I give, but even knowing deep down inside that wasn't all I could give. That's what me is to other people's marriage, is to be able to give it all and to be in a partnership and to be able to do these kind of things. And I believe in it, but I just don't believe it's for me. I don't have kids because of the way the world is right now. There's COVID babies being born, that's detrimental to their longevity. Due to everyone else's longevity, you know what I mean? So like understand and excuse me if I'm not rushing to be in situations where I have to look at it like there will never be a change. There will never be an opportunity that I have to look at it and be like, well, it is what it is. Either I do or don't. That's why I'm here. It was either the situation had a chance to either be something or not be something. And then it became something, then it wasn't something. That was it. It happened just like that. Very simple. Very simple. And I know I'm not talking about the relationship stuff so much, but it's just because sometimes that shit brings me back to just remembering about the self-love type of shit. And it does incorporate with the relationships and the friendships and the partnerships and those kind of relations, but it's just like that whole part about knowing yourself, because it's like you can date, you can have these opportunities if you know yourself enough, because you won't go in there trying to do things that you can't maintain. That's the biggest thing. It's like I don't make promises unless I know I can keep them, because I know how I am as a human. I know how I grow. I know how I want to evolve. If I can't keep that on, I can't keep on my word for that, I will try my hardest not to make that something that is a promised thing. I will try my hardest, because I know what it's like for somebody to tell you something and promise and make the word, then break the word. Then you go around and do the same thing. That shit's very hypocritical. And like, yeah, it's just like some people are like, fuck it, who cares? Like, there's millions of people, or there's this and there's that. And like, when you miss opportunities, when you like skip past people in your life that are like decently helping you, because I know not everyone's going to help you, but a good amount of the time helping you just, find a balance in your life while they're trying to find a balance, and they're letting you in on their life, and y'all are able to, that right there, that one, that energy field that you just created, that you're able to do things in, is just like, it's just like Minecraft. It's just a landscape, and you just build, and then the feeling of knowing you built this and knowing all the things that come out of what you built, that's like the world. The world is like Minecraft. It's a game emulated from real life, but even bigger than that, look at the technology that's happening. So is the game emulation of real life, or is it the opposite? But either way, that's just like part of the programming and part of the, you have these influencers trying to tell you to do shit, and, don't be this kind of person, and high value people, but like they're at a level. You feel what I'm saying? Like, they're talking for people at a level that is way, way beyond what we're maintaining at. Because these are celebrities, these are millionaires, these are people who've been through things. These are these. Listen, they're on a different level than us. I'm talking about the level that we're on, the people that understand what I'm saying, because we all understand what they're saying. But at the same time, we're not on that level. So can we really take that information and impute it in the world the proper way? Not really, because we're not millionaires. We're not rich. We don't have to worry about having to lower our standards because we have the money. Even if we have money, why are we lowering our standards? Why are we settling? Why are we suppressing? Because all that shit is close to depression. All of these things would just sway you right into depression. Why do you think rich people do what they do and then they end up not living long enough? And I'm not saying the people who get killed. I'm talking about the people that do it to themselves. It's because it's all for all of these tangible things, when happiness isn't tangible. Love isn't tangible. You can do so many things for a person to love you, but without those things, what do they love? Ask yourself that. When you ask yourself, what do you do that somebody would really love about you that doesn't cost a thing? That's when you'll be in a whole different field of living. The quality of life will change. Everything will become better. And like I used to think like, yo, don't talk about this type of shit because there'll always be a feud. And it's like, now I'm at that point where it's like I'm doing it for the feud, not the feud, the debate. Because it's an opinion-based thing. And you can have facts on whatever you want to have facts on, but I still am allowed to have my opinion. And if I do it on a podcast, because I have the ability to, the only reason that someone would be mad is because they don't have the platform or they don't have the capability to do it on do it similar like I do it. I understand that because there's a lot of things that go on and people post, and I just want to be on it and commenting, but I realize it's their opinion. Even if it was a fact, I'm still allowed to my opinion. That's why some people will say love is not important, love is not real, you can't do this, you can't do that, but it's like something you can feel, it's nothing you can explain. That's what greatness is. Greatness is one of those things where it happens, you can't remember, you don't know why, but it was important. And it was important to you because you never thought it could happen. And then it became something that made you something that you can only put into words. And if you put into paragraphs, there won't be enough words. You understand? Like I'm not at that point in life where I can say that I feel like I've achieved greatness, but I'm at a point in life where I've achieved a lot of great things. I've worked with a lot of different brands, a lot of different corporations, charities, funds, a lot of things, and not always all the things that I've done. If there was money attached to it, then we wouldn't be sitting in this situation right here. We'd be sitting in a studio all lit up, and it would be a whole different environment. Everything would be totally different. But it's because I know that those things are going to be on my resume. Those things that I did are the reasons why I can create a website. Because if it was about money, I don't know if I would have been able to do all those things. I don't know if every person would have wanted to pay what I charge, and what were they gonna do with it if I'm, a lot of the times there's so many variables that it's just like do or don't. It is what it is. It's simple. It's very simple. I like to do things in a way that it's like, it's not about winning, but if it is, we all win. Simple. Very simple. That's how I really look at it. If it's about winning, we all win. That's why I could be single for so long, because I know by the time I can share energy with somebody long enough that we can build, and then we could solidify some foundation to build on, then we could really emulate whatever lifestyle we want to make it, instead of a lifestyle that we try to make because we're meeting on different planes, and it's like you're living a type of way and I'm living a type of way. No, like I built a foundation enough times with people that it's built differently. So I'm just worrying on being able to build efficiently. Whatever we need to build and however we build, I'm just worrying about doing it efficiently. Because that's the only thing I want to ever be in the world is efficiently. If I have to utilize any of my talents, I just want to do it efficiently. If you're going to utilize me efficiently. Just know if it costs, it's only costing because it has to. There's no other way around it. Just think about it. It's just like a rapper. He's going to get paid so many features. Just like a model. She's only going to get paid so many features for a cover girl or video. And then eventually her rate goes up. Her rate goes up. She gets paid more. She makes appearances, places she gets paid. You start getting your name up, your network up. And that's what I'm doing with a million other things around me going on. And it's the orchestrated chaos. So would it be in a position where I'm like, cool, let me take on a girlfriend and let me try to build something. Then try to think in 5 years when I'm like still with no children, heavily into investing in my creativity and heavily investing into business endeavors that I'm working on, and many things that, like having a girlfriend, if she can't even provide a portion of her life dedicated to mine, because there's no way we're going to make enough time unless I can invest in her life because she When I say this, I already say I've already obviously built a rapport with this woman or built a rapport with the woman. I always make sure I spend time knowing and learning the person before I ever literally dive in. And it's not because I don't want to waste the time, but it's like, you never know. The avocados look good sometimes on the outside, and they're ripe enough. Then you crack them open, then they're like, you know, it's just that kind of that imagery of the avocado looking very ugly on the outside, but once it's cracked open, they're looking beautiful. You know what I mean? Or the kiwi, just it's all fuzzy, but once you crack it open, you're just like, wow. It's just that it's like people, once you peel that layer off, then you just become in the wow factor. And the wow factor is that we're all chasing the raw. We're all chasing the raw. We don't want to play around with these fucking forms of people who are just out there to impress and get what they want and be out. We're looking for people who stay and they stand on what they say, because the consistency that we need to stay on, we need to stay behind what we stand on. If we stand on we want something, then we need to do all the actions and things to provide that to happen. Like, we don't have real conversations with people where people can't maybe give you the right answer right then and there because they don't know it. Which entail gives them time to think about what they want to say and think about how they want to go about the situation, and that's what they do. They do that. You ever had a fight with your partner, and then things were said, and then instantly before you want to fight more, you guys separate and you guys go the other way, walk away from each other, like, in the house or whatever case it is. If you guys are fighting somewhere, just walk away from each other. And then you realize when you come back, it's like, I wasn't this, I wasn't that, I didn't mean that. And then you realize how some people, all it needs is a little bit of space for them to realize it's the shit that they're going through. But sometimes you don't get a chance. And in this new era, everybody want to be so bossed up in this and that. Independent, you don't need to do, it's not that you need to do, but it's like you can keep going on with life trying to be someone who doesn't want all that stuff, and then you just think you're just going to keep getting your licks off, and then eventually somebody going to want to get their lick back. Somebody might want to just be like, yo, I don't even care about the lick, I just want to be in the situation. Which some people just don't want the relationship. They don't trust men, they don't trust women. It's, dudes ain't shit, and then women ain't shit, and hoes, and fuck niggas, and all this shit that just is only there because people say it, because people tell you, because people use it. It's in rap songs, it's in movies, it's on billboards, it's in school, it's on TikTok, it's everywhere. So it's like it's consuming you so crazy. It's like it's Pac-Man. You can't even have your own opinion because there's something back that you've seen somewhere on social media. It's like it's so hard for you to form your own opinion on something because you don't know where to find that information that's guaranteed to be real. Wherever you go, you're going to go through some kind of avenue that is social. If you go on Google, it's still the most used platform ever. They got you. The only way I feel like I'm not as connected to the world is when I want to do it on my computer. Anything that I do on my computer, I feel like I'm less connected because I'm not looking at this phone that has all these apps, and what I'm doing is I'm making sure I'm doing this or website or artwork or illustrations and things like that. That's mainly what I'm really doing. When I get in that phone, it's just always more distractions, and even distractions help. They help me be able to find the distractions actually help me find more than just inspiration. Sometimes I find peace in distractions because everything that's distracting me will make me find more time to find peace. Because when the distractions happen, I think just cutting the distractions off and I find peace. But then there'll be another distraction. So you know how I deal with the distraction? I embrace it. But there will be a time where I don't have to deal with no distractions, and I'll find that time for me, which is all I needed to do in the beginning. So I have to think the distraction for me to be able to find when I can find my peace. Because it's not like I need to go somewhere else. It's never outside of me. My peace is not outside of me. But sometimes I may need to get away from the distractions. Maybe there's individuals around me. Maybe there's environment. Maybe there's just the space. Maybe the darkness. Maybe the light. Too much light. The room's tight. There's no air. There's no windows. Whatever the situation is, sometimes I feel like just enough space between what's making you and what's breaking you is enough that will help you come back to the drawing table, and whatever you need to do will help you, and that will help you become more to the original form that you were. Like, I know how hard it is to fight through so many different things. It's hard to just think about waking up and doing things without thinking about looking at your phone, looking what everyone else is doing. But for me, it's like I thought I had an excuse because I have a business and all that. But then when I stopped doing it, I'm like, okay, so I just find myself going on my business pages and just doing that and updating that and keeping that in circulation. And then I don't even check on my personal shit. So it's like, oh shit, I come back and there's messages, this, that. And I just like forget about it. But that was the point. The point of it was to go on a hiatus. It's the same thing. Like, I just keep doing so much in life. So it's like, let me break it down to a female. Let me break it down to a woman, let her know what it is. And sometimes people are just like, nah, we don't want that in our life right now. I'm like, cool. Like, we just want a person with a job that just comes home and just can give all the time to me. I'm like, well, go find that, you know what I mean? And we're in 2022. Like, people are changing themselves to be in a category that's most liked, most picked, because they don't, know how to deal with themselves. People are just going viral because they're in hopes of the whole thing happening, that they get something out of it. It's just like, when did we like stop being who we need to be instead of like who we think we need to be? It's like every time you get on these apps and start acting and doing satire and doing all this shit, it's like cool to you and cool to everyone else watching, but like to the people who know you, they're like, if they don't know it's a gimmick, and they would assume something's wrong with you, and like you could lose things, you lose friendships, you lose partnerships, you lose opportunities. I've seen people lose jobs because of TikTok, so it's like, damn. But like, I seen it break up relationships, so it's like TikTok and app, but once again, the programming. It's like, Jesus, like stances on things. It's like a lot of people are just coming to people just because like we're attracted, boom, boom, boom. Attraction is a good percentage of it, but it's deeper than that, because once the surface is already, we're past the surface, there's more to go. We're not just going to dwell on the surface because this is where we know it's safe. We have to know that there's more than this surface dwelling. We have to know that it can get deeper, or we can go deeper. We need to know the possibilities of both, because if we can't, then this won't work. Versus, it is what it is. You need to know when to differentiate the time to be able to know that do, don't, will, won't, are, aren't. Those are words that you can substitute that quote, instead of it is what it is. Because my grandparents used to say that it is what it is, and you look at them, you're just like, why do you always say that? Because they don't have much hope for much more. And the way you become better is you have to tell yourself you become better, and then everything that you do out in the world will give you signs to let you know that what you're doing is effective. And if it doesn't give you a sign that so directly, just think about, you're doing things and you're having the ability to do things, which not everyone has. Not everyone has an ability to do something. Some people are just incapable of doing things. And I believe that not everyone can do everything. I believe some people, aren't. You know what I mean? Just aren't. And that's the beautiful thing about it. The beautiful thing is that I can go on talking about relationships and jump into other things and then pertaining to something else and then still talking about relationships or friendships or partnerships, because it's all within one. We meet somebody, we hope to build those 3 layers out in life, because when you get married, it's a partnership. It's no more relationship, it's a partnership, which also falls under something else that you built that was previous, which is a relationship, which is previously built from a friendship. So it's like the changes, the choices, and the chances are just like the friendships, the relationship, and the partnership. It's all these little 3 things that keep you in balance. These little tips, these little reminders, these little useful tools, because being resourceful is the biggest tool. The biggest tool is resource. You don't know how far you can reach and the things that you can accomplish by being stuck on these one-minded mindsets. You know what I mean? And just thinking that you can't find love because you already been loved and you went through a bad situation. Well, guess what? There's still somebody out there that's going to love you. They might love you 18 times harder than you've ever been loved. Why? Because that person's been ready to love and hasn't found the person that has allowed them to love them. I know we all think of love the same, different ways, but I'm just talking about someone who's willing to look at you and know that whatever they want to give is going to be 100%. And whatever they want to get is what they want to give. Not always working like that, but just knowing that in this era, it's like, yo, you have to want more. You have to want more. You can't just accept little things. You can't just always accept big things. You can't always accept sorries, because the sorries are for the person to put a Band-Aid on the situation and then know that they fuck up again. Sorry's just going to keep putting Band-Aids on it. It's just like flat tires. You fix a flat hoping that the tire never pops again. But if the tire pops again, then it's like Band-Aids can't be Band-Aids. And I wrote that in my first poetry book. Like that's another thing. The reason why I did this part 2 was because I wanted to explain something. I went through a relationship, 3 of them, previous to another relationship, in 7 months, just because I wanted to see if it was me not wanting to be. So I gave people chances, right? And it ended up turning out that, most of the women weren't ready. They just weren't ready for who I was, and they weren't ready for who I'm becoming. Which meant that I was just putting more time into the craft, which means that we'd be splitting time, me giving me time versus me giving time to you. And not a lot of people like that, because that means that attention is not going to always be there. And I understand that. I totally understand that, because in the same time, I want to, build that bond as well. But at the same time, I'm at cause for what? At cause for what? At cause for me not being able to create that. That's what makes me. So it's like, give less time to that. I can do that. But it's like, if I'm asking, and if that's the sacrifice that I have to make, just look at that sacrifice as being that's my life. So you're asking me to take some of my life, and some people will do it for love, but we're getting at a point in life where, listen, you can't always bully your way to get what you want. It has to come to a compromise, especially when it comes to life and relationships and things like that. You really have to. And I really, I like the enjoyment of understanding why things happen, even if they have to keep happening, just so that I can learn. And like, that's the thing. People are just trying to skip the learning part. It's just like, yo, you look good, I look good. We should just, And then it's like, a lot of people just try to fuck, and they just try to get what they get. But like, there's a lot of fire ass people in between that. You know what I mean? In between that, in between those phases that we get hooked on, there's the personality, the person itself is fire. And we're like missing that, just thinking that this physical is going to just bind us together, when a lot of the times that physical doesn't bind us together, because we sit back and we look at it, and we get around people, and these people are just like, yo, did you know that, this girl did that and that? Now you're not like, now you don't want to deal with them. Now you don't want to deal with who she is or who she was, because you weren't worried about that. And then you already got what you got, which is like, yo, I got some, so I don't really, you know what I mean? And it, pressure, and self-doubt make you not commit to yourself, which makes it impossible for you to commit to another person. Because it's like, if you doubt yourself, but you want to, like, ask yourself the series of these questions. It's like, okay, have you ever thought of yourself being, a relationship type? And if you say yes, then you have to ask yourself, what about being a good friend first. And then you would say yes to that. Or hopefully would say yes to that. Then you have to ask yourself one more question. What's stopping you from being that? And then if you blame it instantly on the opposite sex right off the back, then it's just letting you know that you're not ready for the relationship, which would have been the fourth question. Because you can't always gun down your opportunity with things I just told you about. It's self-doubt. If you think that every person you cross is going to do something to you or take from you, I would suggest you don't. You know what I mean? Don't be the one out there dating. I just think that if you want things, and it's like, okay, if you don't want the relationship, but you want the attention, you want the affection, you want the physical, some people will give you that. But then there'll be some people that when it's time to try to build, they're not going to want to build because it started out as something and it got into a whole difference of shit because of what happened. You feel what I'm saying? Like the moment you say you don't want to do a relationship or you want to be in a situation, somebody's going to fall. And the minute that they fall is the same time where now you're stuck with asking yourself the same question. What should I do? And then the battles, you versus you, start happening. And then guess what? It's a whole lot of chaos about to happen. It'll be orchestrated because it'll be things that you feel, things you want, and then it'll be you trying to negotiate those things in the situation, and then people saying they do, and then they don't, when keep up their end of the bargain. And it's like we're getting to the point where I'm specifically talking about me. I'm talking about people who are like 22 to 35. I'm talking about anyone within 10 plus past that years too as well. But it's only because development, because you may understand this at 14 years old. You may understand some of the things I'm saying. You may be going through some of these things where it's hard and it's awkward and you don't know how, and it's you trying to like impress people, and it's like sometimes doing all that takes away from who you are. That's a disservice. It's the same way that when you get in relationships that you don't stick up for yourself, you're doing yourself a disservice, because then the person that you're dealing with is going to keep bullying you. And I don't mean in a way of physical. I just mean in a way of mental. And there's only so much you can take, but there's only so many times you're going to want to keep dealing with trying to find. Ultimately, you're just trying to find yourself in other people. It's the same thing that they are trying to find too. You know, it's a lot of other variables that people would put slap titles on too, but it's really mostly that. It's mostly you're trying to find somebody that has characteristics very similar to yours, or traits that are similar to yours, similar enough that you would be willing to invest in that person because you know the type of person you are. And obviously it's a hope and a faith and it's on a whim, because even when you get to learn that person, you may find interest because similarities make the differences. But it's the part where you engage past you running away from the situation because you know that's just another battle versus you, but this is an actual person. While you still have to battle you versus you, this is not like you have to do it alone. You know what I mean? And yeah, you can have friends, but it's different when you deal with somebody that you engage with on a different level, that you see a different level, that you can connect with it on a different level, that they can share energy on a different level. It's different when you can run home to somebody or you can have somebody to come home to versus you getting home and you have to wait for somebody to meet you at home because they don't live there or they're not that close to you, or you guys don't have that good of a connection, or whatever the reasoning is. These things make it harder. You know, sleeping at night, it does seem like it would be something that's effective, but some people like to sleep in the bed by themselves. But there can't be every single point of the way. You can't think being solo and single would give you any advantages in life because that's just one person to the rest of the world. I mean, what's two? But two is better than nothing. And I'm not saying to do these things to just go get in a relationship, but I'm saying these things because the mindset of not wanting, let's just cut the shit. You're going to have to die one day. We're all going to be old. And we're going to want somebody by our side. And if we're doing that searching in our 40s, we might not have enough time to search and find, and enough time to live out and explore and have all these things happen that are beautiful in life, because we're shortcoming ourselves. And that's where I don't want to be in life. And I don't want to be the one, even if it does happen, that I do get, beautiful things and children and a great life. I want to be able to say that before I ever thought it was possible, I was able to think about it and speak about it because it was a part of my life. It was, even if it was an idea, it didn't consume me just for 1 minute. Sometimes it consumed me for days or in months, and it didn't just come from me. It was coming from watching other people, family members, uncles, aunts. Damn, you've never been married. You've only been in 2 relationships. Now he's married. Then that affects you. Then you're like throwing every guy out and arguing with every guy. It's like I see people around and I'm just like, man, I'm only scared of relationships because of what what it will leave them, because I just naturally give those parts of me. When you were willing enough to invest, I'm gonna give those parts of. And I'm not saying I'm gonna invest too fast. I'm not saying that at all. But I'm gonna be willing to let you know that the person who you want to be around, the person who you're going to be around, and the person that you see yourself being around is going to be giving you more than you ever had. And it doesn't have to be money. It's just the willingness, the ability. Because when you know you have the ability and you can give, because if you give the people who give you nothing, imagine what will you do to a person who gives you something and can constantly give you something, even if they struggle with it. You know what you'll do? You'll take what they give you and give it back to them so they don't struggle. And there'll always be a balance of always being able to fill and water. And then if not, it'll be like water you, you water me, we both grow. And everything else that's included and attached to us will make it grow as well. It really is a gardening effect. It's life is like Minecraft. There's so many things that life is relatable to. Gardening, planting seeds. Sometimes I look out the window when I'm on the train and I just look at the trees and I'm like, damn. So many people have ideas, they have things that they could put into the world, but they just don't take action to it. And I just look at the trees and I'm like, damn, look at all these seeds that were planted. Look at all these fucking trees that grew. In my head, I'm calculating trees, equating trees to be ideas and trees to be businesses and seeing how things get built. And you're just like, that was a whole patch of woods and briars, and now there's a house there. It got built. It's like foundation. It's like principle. Life is equivalent to principles. Like just looking at the outside world and looking at the world you live in, because we do create our own ecosystem. We create it very, very crazily because we don't realize we're creating it, but we create it, and whatever works for us, works for us. But the best part about it is that when it works for you, it really works for you. That's part of knowing yourself. It's the best parts of it. The best parts of it are just learning life, and then life making you learn you. And then when you learn you, you're able to meet people and let them learn you. And then they'll see the work you put in, and then they may need help. And guess what you'll do subconsciously? You'll help them because you know what it was like to not know yourself. Like, that's the biggest jewel that I ever realized about myself, that I know that a lot of people don't realize. Because, like, we live in our heads. We're gonna die in our heads too, and then we're gonna die in our physical life. And I only say that again, the dying thing, because we eventually have to, get, get somewhere, get to some point. And when we get to that point, it's going to be memorable. When we get to that, it's going to make a mark. Not because I'm saying it, it's because everyone knows that they want to work for something in life. They want to be making a name for themselves, for their legacy, to live on. People just because people die, their name doesn't die. People don't talk about Pop Smoke. People don't talk about the epic things in life. They don't talk, that are gone. They don't talk about MTV as much. They don't talk about BET, because now look what they do with it. We grow up Everything around us evolves because it makes us evolve at that speed, because that's how technology works. That's how the world works. You want to know if you grew up? Try that same bullshit that you tried when you were younger. When it doesn't work, then you'll know you grew up. You know why? Because that shit was acceptable back then, not now. Just like self-love, put it into yourself. But also don't forget that there's other people that will love you. I'm not saying equally, because I can only tell you from my experience that being loved equally means that somebody has to put a lot on the line, and not everyone's willing to, because they don't know if they can get it back. But if I water you enough and you water me enough, if there's ever a point that we feel we don't want this to work, we're only leaving the situation with the cup half empty, not completely empty, meaning that you'll still leave with parts of you that you know hard and that you fought to keep, rather than me just trying to take everything. I don't want that. It doesn't mean I'm not giving my all. It just means that I'm remembering those little drops that I saved for myself were over time going to give me back exactly the effect that I needed. I didn't need to leave this situation being lost and not knowing who I was because I gave it all to you. You were a soul snatcher? No, like I literally mean like a life snatcher. Like are you taking my whole personality and my whole no. It's because I gave it away just because I couldn't identify with the problems. So then I had to outgrow them and give an excuse. Nope, we're grown. We're going to face those problems. We're not going to suppress it. We're not at all. And this is episode 8. It's Derek Austin. Why not Derek? CNC podcast. Stay cozy. Stay creative. Stay educating. Continue learning. Thank you.
In the moment, slow down for what? Shorty, I gotta stay focused. To the top is where I'm bound to be. It's not likely that you hear a nigga nice as me. 1,000 miles running, tricking with these hoes, never. Hating's bad for your blood, stick to getting cheddar. That's the plan forever, 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 forever. Fuck the truth, I need proof, let me see some. I ain't gotta lie to you. But baby, you're one of a kind. You're my favorite work of art, girl. A masterpiece is what you are. You're my favorite work of art, girl. A masterpiece is what you are.
You are now tuned in to the WRBZR and the CNC podcast. Thank you for supporting. Thank you for tuning in. Enjoy.